Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation. Dhanasari Mahalla Panjava, Chatur Disa Kino Bal Apana, Sir Upar Kar Taryo, Kripa Katakhe Avalokan Kino, Das Ka Dukh Bidaryo, Har Jan Rakhe Gur Govind, Kanth Laye Avgun Sab Mete, Dayal Purkh Baksand Rahao. जो मांग है ठाकुर अपने ते, सोई सोई देवै, नानक दास मुख ते जो बोले, इहाँ उहाँ सच होवै। जो मांगे ठाकुर अपने ते, सोई सोई देवै, नानक दास मुख ते जो बोले, इहाँ उहाँ सच होवै. This is an often read but also much misunderstood sabad, and we'll see how as we go along. Chatur Disa Kino Bal Apana, Sir Upar Kar Dharyo, Kripa Kathak Avalokan Kino, Das Ka Dukh Bidaryo. That's the opening verse. Chatur Disa means in all four directions. Bal Kino Bal Apana, addressing the self, you have established your power. Sir Upar Kar Dharyo, and you have placed your hand, your protective hand, kar is hand, sir upar kar dharyo. So the image is of a hand placed upon the head. Kripa kathakya avalokan kino, a gracious glance, a merciful look. Hand on the head and a merciful look. That is the image that is being presented to us of the devotee and the master. And that should be the image that we should strive for. Now, Chatur Disa, four directions, should not be understood to mean mere geography. It's not geographical space. It includes geographical space, but it is actually the totality of phenomenal existence. It includes everything, past, future, inner, outer, the known, the unknown, everything. The implication of what is being said here is that the creative, the karta, is established everywhere, and it is established as a protective hand. Sir upar kar taryo. So not only is the creative everywhere, but it is protective. So now, in the Indian tradition, placing the hand on the head is a gesture of blessing, of initiation, and in fact, energetic transmission. And it appears in various contexts. It could be a parent-child blessing, a guru-disciple relationship, and here, divine intervention. So therefore, this is not just a casual touch, but acknowledgement of belonging. And the glance of grace, the kripa katak, implies recognition. When your consciousness feels recognized by its own deeper ground, suffering will dissolve at its root, because you're no longer self-alienated. In the Rahao, Har Jan Rakhe Gur Govind, Kanth Laye Avgun Sab Mete, Dayal Purkh Baksand Har Jan Rakhe. So the Guru is talking about the Guru as the creative. Guru Govind. The Gur is the Govind. And it is the life giver. Harjan Rakhe, it protects its devotees, its servants. We are all its servants. It protects all of us. Kanthalai, embracing. Avgan sabamete, removing all deficiencies. Dayal Purkh Baksand, compassionate is that being. So now the embrace is from the throat, kanthalai. This has to be understood. This is a shift from recognition and acknowledgement that we saw in the first verse to intimacy. The hand upon the head has become a tight embrace. In fact, it is such a tight embrace, it is at the throat, kanthalai. It is a fusion. There is no space left. There is no distinction left between protector and protected. The servant is drawn into the very body of the protector. There is no outside left. So you see, the throat, kant, is the site of our voice, our breath, our life force. It's the most vulnerable and vital zone. And to say that you are being held, kanthalai, is to say that you are being held at the source. So in a sense, it echoes the Sufi notion of fana, dissolution of separation. But here in Gurbani, it is framed as being absorbed into the beloved's own being. And avgun sabamete is obviously not a courtroom or a legal acquittal. It is ontological shifting of the mind. The sense of deficiency that we feel, this is the avgun. We feel it. That is what evaporates. That is the revelation. It is the dissolution of the self-image that the ego has of deficiency. And the servant discovers that they were never really deficient, because they were a part of the parent, of the creative. They were simply unrecognized. So the faults really were alienation. So what remains then is recognition. The Harjan discovers that it was always being held, protected, always embraced. So the journey is really not from distance to closeness, but from unawareness to awareness of a closeness that was always there. We just did not recognize it. And in conclusion, Jo mange hai Thakur apne te, soi soi deva, Nanak das mukhte jo bola, yahan uhan sach hove. Now this is subtle and easily misunderstood. We have read this verse over and over again and read it rather superficially, because what it means then is that the divine is some sort of a vending machine for wish fulfillment. That is not what it is. It is saying whatever one asks or speaks from the mouth, that very thing is given to the servant. Whatever the servant speaks becomes true. There is a deeper meaning to this. You have to look at the progression of the Shabad. Our deficiency has been erased. We are whole. We have recognized Naam. We are embraced by the throat. So it means that the inner relationship is clear, and the whole idea of desire itself is transformed. There is no asking because the ego structure has gone. Thakur Apane Te, the Thakur is already the internal reference point. And so what happens is your desire aligns with the hukam, because the distinction between my will, ego, and divine will, haume, has collapsed in that kantalai. Thus, soi soi deve is not some miraculous intervention, but a natural unfolding when obstruction, meaning ego grasping, is removed. One no longer asks from a position of lack. One is aligned. So what is given is always that which actually sustains, because it is experienced as oneself, alignment. So this is an inner authority that is born out of this alignment, this coherence. Mukhate jo bole, speech emerging from a throat that has been embraced by the creative, by the divine, by the karta, carries truth, not just propositional correctness, but it carries ontological accord. The words accord with reality rather than attempting to manipulate it. That is what is being meant here. That is why they become true iha uha, not because of some magical power, but they express what is rather than what the ego wishes were so. When speech arises from a self no longer divided, no longer pretending, no longer grasping, it carries truth force. Such a voice does not manipulate reality, it works in accord with reality. And this sabad is indeed from the voice of a awakened mind, Guru Arjan. And he's trying to transmit that to us. We need to absorb that meaning. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.